It happened again. 5th day, 5th time in a row. A bloodied knee, stinging. As were my eyes, stinging with tears, anger, and sheer frustration. My father was rather nonchalant. He picked me up, dusted my dress, put some sharp purple tincture on the wound, and put me back up on the seat. Stepped back and waited for me to learn one of life's early lessons. Keep moving. Well, I was lurching and swerving into the pavement. But then I slowly realized that it's movement that ensures stability, balance, and locomotion. Exhilarated, I pedaled furiously in the colony roads, learning my first life lesson at the age of 7. That excitement and learning happens on the edges of a wheel. Yes, I learned how to cycle. Sikandrabad. My mother and I, after the parikrama of a temple, were waiting for the arati when a senior lady came up to me and to my mother, looked at me and said, "Oh, this child has large eyes and I would love to teach her how to dance." And there, on the edges of a temple parikrama, my entry, the world of my passion, beckoned me. I became a student of dance at the age of 4. Few years down the line, summer holidays, like all good South Indians, we would go to Chennai, visiting our grandmother. And she took me to visit someone, the place, Kalakshetra, the person, Rukmini Devi Arundel. I touched her feet, did the namaskaram. She blessed me and I was smitten. I come back home to Hyderabad and I badger my father, asking him to send me to Kalakshetra to study Bharatanatyam. Well, there was a problem. The problem wasn't of sending an 11-year-old to boarding from a middle-class family. The problem was that Kalakshetra did not have an option of doing full-time school education while I was pursuing a full-time dance. My father looked at me rather woefully, wrung his hands in despair, and said, "Will you be a school dropout?" And I said, "No, I will get that high school certificate." What my parents had done is they had changed the paradigm and the prototypes of early school education of how they would educate their child. Indulging a talent of a young child, they moved on the edge, putting me too on the edge, sending me to Kalakshetra, not knowing what was a career goal at all. At Kalakshetra, at the age of 11 to 17, I spent 6 years gaining a diploma and a postgraduate diploma in Bharatanatyam. But I had made a promise, if you remember. So I went on to do private matriculation, pre-university, and a commerce degree, all through long-distance education. And this time, I was back on the cycle. But the cycle, the wheels of the cycle were running parallel to each other. I was indulging my passion and the promise I had made to my parents. Coming back from Kalakshetra at the age of 17, I chose to also teach at a very young age of 17, bursting through age restrictions of how or who would be a guru. I started with 4 students, and it's almost 4 decades plus now of that institution. Soon, as a young and up-and-coming young Bharatanatyam dancer, I realized that the ROI, the return on investment as a young dancer, and the gestation period is far higher, it's far longer. Because the outflow of the expenditure outflow is far higher than the income that I could command as a young dancer. So not wanting to dip into my parents' little nest egg, I chose to upscale and upgrade myself with further education and research degrees. At the university, motivated by friends, taking the Union Public Service Commission exams, I too sat for those exams and ran into a very irate mother who was horrified that I was taking these exams because she felt that would ensure that I would completely give up my talent and training. I made another promise to her and myself that I would not do so. Anyway, I was selected to join the Indian Railway Traffic Service of the 1987 batch. I burst through a very male bastion, becoming the first lady officer of the South Central Railway. And there, the whole idea of bureaucracy, of mainline train operations, of accidents even, of hierarchy, of decision-making, enveloped me in its embrace. I was enjoying myself. And then I ran into organizational stereotypes and well-meaning friends who sat me down and said, now that you've arrived at this mainstream job, why do you want to dance? Why don't you just give it up? But I had other plans. I had decided that I would do what I had to do and serve the Indian nation as a bureaucrat of the Ministry of Railways, and I would also be that thin thread, that thin skein of thread that would be part of the tapestry of the Bharatiya civilization that has been continuing by being a dancer. And again, I was back on those wheels, again running parallel, this time larger and running on different surfaces, one running on the railway track and one on the performance stage. I just finished a 33-plus tenure with the railways, and through it all, I continued to dance, teach, perform, choreograph, write, and a scholarship and a PhD in the arts. Through it all, 360 degrees involvement in art. Recently, we also launched a Bharatanatyam browser-based application called Natyaramba, which helps dancers across the globe practice Bharatanatyam, which is now followed across the globe. I'm often asked, how was it possible for you to do one mainstream job and also continue your passion and engage with it fully? How is it possible? Well, easy, maybe not. I used to negotiate with office leaves and permissions and navigate rehearsals and office spaces and performances and office timings. So it had its own negotiation, navigation trajectory that went alongside. But I also ask myself and ask every one of you here, is life an either or option? I would think not. Life has to be engaged in its entirety. Otherwise, you're being unfair to yourself. So that's how my journey continued on two parallel wheels of bureaucracy and dance, and continues to go forward in that same path. I believe that what I really did is I brought the systems and structures of bureaucracy to my art and took back the egalitarianism and the aesthetics of my art to my desk job. Each of my worlds enriched the other, almost like friends holding hands across the fence. 2008, life threw me a curveball. I was diagnosed with carcinoma of the breast. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Like anyone else, I was angry, irritated, frustrated, and rather weepy. Crying on the way home in the car, my husband asked me to pull myself up and said, it's just a hiatus, you'll be fine. So taking support from his positivity, I declared to the world at large. I made 3 large affirmations. The affirmations were, I will ride it out. I will not allow cancer to ride me. I also said, I will not say why me, because I didn't say why me when I got all those awards, so why should I say why me? And the third affirmation I made to myself was that cancer is one page in my life and not the book of my life. And I said, I will speak about it. What I think I did was I restructured in my mind the words barrier, obstacle, problems as opportunity, milestone, challenges maybe. So the story went thus. Shringara hasya karuna raudra veera bhayanakaha bhibatsa adbhuta shantascha rasa purvai rudahrita are the 9 rasas which are described in Bharata's Natya Shastra. Look at my own rasas. I was angry when I found I was diagnosed with cancer. I was afraid, not knowing where this would lead. I was wonderstruck, adbhuta, knowing what medicine could do. I was equally disgusted, bibhatsa, with all the side effects. I was struck with the valor of my husband and the medical profession, veera. I was weepy, almost often, with the emotion of karuna. And I was amused with my own bald pate. And I fell in love with Shringara, with my husband, and with life. And today, I'm at peace with the hope that I'm not a cancer survivor, but a cancer conqueror. What I think I'm trying to share here is how you look at life and how you look at the challenges life throws at you is what life is all about. Because the business of life is to challenge us, and therein lies our greatest learning. And that learning happens when you're able to change the prism of how you look at life, how you will be able to look at the challenge being thrown at you. And the way you look at life always happens on the edge of that wheel. It will help you not see either of the two silos that are running side by side. Because with cancer comes with a lot of melodrama and clutter and clamor, and it's a very needy, greedy kind of a situation. But what I really think I did is I pulled myself out. I pulled myself out of the society-driven melancholy and the data-driven fear fog that is around you, not necessarily with cancer, but with almost anything of our lives. And to help me ride that wheel was not my father, but my dance, my training, my performance, my passion, which helped me pull up, because I had made a promise in the early days of cancer that I will deal with it and dance through it. And that's what I did. I danced through cancer. I danced weeks after surgery, through radiation, through chemotherapy, believing that that is the wheel I'm going to be on, and not be swayed by either or of the clamor, clutter, and the medical fog and the dense fog that is thrown around you. Riding that wheel helped me see the light in that sense. The business of life, as I said, is to challenge us. And in these times of challenge, what comes to your help, or what supports you, is your mind. The mind being the final frontier. We as people of the industry, of any industry for that matter, we are so focused on core competency. We are core competent as doctors, as IT professionals, as bureaucrats, as dancers, as what have you. But the strength of who we are comes from our core strength, which is passion. And the trick is to learn how to balance, to ride both your core competency and your core strength. And that is a simple method of being able to stay on the wheel, to be able to balance both sides. But why would you want to do it? You would need to do it because that is how you will know what you want to do, what you really wish to do, and what you need to do to continue doing what you want to do. By pursuing your core competency and your core strength simultaneously, you will step up yourself from the routine and the mundane. Open your mind to extraordinary curiosity, which gives us great leaps of faith, of invention and innovation and inspiration. Because focusing on your own uniqueness and your own unique talent makes you fearless. It gives you extraordinary courage and helps you make comebacks from setbacks, as it did with me, with a tryst with cancer. And that passion is really the momentum of your life. Because human life, my dear young friends, is that little period between the two doors called B and D, birth and death. We all come through those two the door called birth, and we all go out through that door called death, B and D. But between those two alphabets is that alphabet C, which to me stands for choice. We as human beings have the choice to choose how and through which prism we will look at our lives, to be able to ride those wheels and those edges, to not be cowed down by one postulate or one inference, to not be dragged in by other people's limited life experiences. It is our choice to choose to be like that river. Look at the river. 2 banks, but it keeps flowing. The river, which cuts through boulders, goes through the mountain, sidesteps rocks, pulverizes all the things that comes in its way, and emerges into the sunshine. Akashat patitam toyam sagaram pratigacchati. That's really the truth of our lives. The fact that we keep the flow going. And to me, that river is life. That cycle that all of us learned how to ride, riding on the edges of the different wheels of our life, the multi-layered wheels of our life, that to me brought in so many experiences, life experiences, is life. The ubiquitous cycle, the third side of the coin, or the wonderful river. All you need to do is to keep cycling, because it gives you focus, it gives you attention, it helps you go above and get a bird's eye view of what life is all about, as it did with me. So keep cycling and keep dancing with joy. Thank you.